Hello, I'm Patrick Thomas, and welcome to Arkansas Live. We're live from Studio 25. For those of you who might be joining us for the first time, Studio 25 is created as a name for our location, and 25 is for the 25th state. So, again, welcome to Arkansas Live, and I hope you enjoy the programming. For those of you who are following Ladder Talks and are coming over to Arkansas Live, I hope you're enjoying Ladder Talks, and I hope you enjoy or appreciate the fact that I'm trying to keep Arkansas national topics in the Arkansas Live platform. Been visiting with some people, and they're really getting a lot out of the Ladder Talks programming. If you ever wondered, what Ladder Talks is about, it's just a little bit taller than a soapbox, and I discuss the Jacksonville area news and politics and what's going on here in Jacksonville for those who've been following me for nearly 6 years now. So today what I have before me is the August 18th Arkansas Democrat Gazette, and this is about 3:30 on Monday afternoon. I'm running a little late. Normally I do this in the morning, but I've got a lot going on in my business world, and this is something that I managed to work in. I'm going to have to really get it together. I've got a fiber optic cable coming. A lot of technical problems that I'm having are be solved by some of the upload speeds that I presently have with a very limited business DSL account. So I'm going to be discussing the Sunday news. And for those of you who may be seeing this before, the graphics should all be correct as far as the reverse images. And it's been a while since I've done a Democrat Gazette segment. Actually, it was last week this time. So to get right into it, the front page on the left-hand side is what I call the little gem section. There's some neat stuff that comes out of there, just little small one paragraph type items. I'm going to read this. It's kind of some of this stuff's pretty good, and I usually just pick out one, but I've got three identified in here, and I'm just going to read them, so I don't want to spoil it. Some of you have already read the Democrat Gazette. You may overlook these little tidbits. Neil Strasser obtained security video from Greater Rochester International Airport in New York that shows an airport security worker handing him a note that said, "You're ugly." I'm sorry, but the man might have been ugly, really. Handed the note to him after he passed through a metal detector, leading to the worker being fired. Yeah, the worker should probably have been fired, but I'm here to tell you, blessed are the losers, for they determine the winners. Okay, we contrast in this world. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm allergic to paper dust. Yeah. Danette Giltz of Sturgis, South Dakota, who went to a hospital with pains she thought were from kidney stones. I seen this on the TV the other day, and I couldn't believe it. And then I found it in here. Went to the hospital thinking she had kidney stone problems. But instead she found out that she was 34 weeks pregnant with triplets and was in labor, gave birth to 3 healthy babies named Blaze, Gypsy, and Nikki. Congratulations, Danette, on your successful delivery of triplets, Blaze, Gypsy, and Nikki. How do you know you're not pregnant? That's, just didn't even know. Barbara Norton of Louisiana State, a Louisiana State representative, was disqualified from seeking election to the state Senate after a judge ruled that there was clear and convincing evidence that Norton does not live in the house she claims as her residence in the district she wants to represent. I wonder how many times does that go on right here in Arkansas. You know, a lot of people own a lot of houses, and they're holding various political offices, and you really don't know sometimes. It's going to take we the people to blow the whistle on some of these people. There's voters. There's voters who are registered in places to vote in places. They don't live here, folks. Yep. I'm going to move over to the Arkansas section and the Three Rivers section if I haven't already talked about it, but pretty much only three sections of the paper I'm going to talk about. It's really kind of pitiful that there's not really a whole lot that I want to talk about on the front page of the Democrat Gazette. However, there is a story that is over on the meat and potatoes of what I want to say is over on page 10A. Files show lawyer target of FBI in 2013. Goodson firms $20,000 payments to ex-Senator Hutchinson drew inquiry. Go ahead and move over to 10A and get that out of the way here. What I really want to comment on about that is in the center of the page. Hudson Goodson Connections. Okay? Y'all get you a paper if you haven't read it already and read about all this, but I'm going to focus in on Mr. Hutchinson and the Hutchinson family. Kind of interesting little pieces in here, if you will. The 45-year-old former 6-term state Senate and House member is part of Arkansas's politically high-achieving Hutchinson family. In addition to Arkansas's current governor, the family includes Jeremy Hutchinson's father, Tim Hutchinson, a Republican former U.S. Senator, a cousin currently in the top-ranking state senator, Senate President Pro Tem Jim Hendren, Republican from Gazette. Jeremy Hutchinson recently resigned his state Senate seat on August 31st, 2018, as federal prosecutors in Little Rock announced charges against him for campaign finance, misspending, and tax fraud. Now, I'm just going to touch on tax fraud, and I'm going to move away from Mr. Hutchinson. There are people that are here in the state of Arkansas that they've had questionable tax returns and in some cases tax liens. But yet nobody knows what happened. And in my mind, I have to ask the question, could it have been tax fraud? Not mentioning any names here, but those questions are unanswered for my satisfaction. When you end up with tax issues and you end up with tax liens, how does that happen? So I'll move on down. On June 25, Hutchinson pleaded guilty in federal court in eastern Arkansas to conspiring to commit bribery involving an orthodontist who sought favorable legislation and to one count of filing a false tax return. Yep. I wonder how many others right here in the state of Arkansas have filed false tax returns. Sometimes we don't know until an investigator starts digging, and I'm under the impression there's probably more to come. There's probably a laundry list stacked up, big fish and little fish. And probably some of that stack is politically timed as to create the most embarrassment, depending upon who is behind it politically, pushing this list. So I'm going to move over to a story in this Antifa nonsense that's going on. I've got several areas highlighted here on this. Portland, Oregon. Police arrested at least 13 people and seized metal poles, bear spray. I don't know what bear spray is. And other weapons Saturday as hundreds of far-right protesters and anti-fascist counter-demonstrators swarmed downtown Portland. Let's see. Donald Trump has got eyes on Portland, and that government was considering naming the anti-fascists known as Antifa an organization of terror. Now they might need to be determined to be an organization of terror, but it concerns me that someone in our government, whether it be presidential levels or any other department, can all of a sudden, if they just don't like you, they can, for some reason or another, pull the right strings and declare your organization a terrorist organization. Where's it going to end? Is our federal government going to all of a sudden shut you up because they're going to declare you a terrorist organization? Now, no doubt these people probably are terrorists, probably doing some terrorist things. It concerns me. Biggs, a former writer for the right-wing InfoWars website, said before the rally that his goal was to provoke Antifa members. I want them to be violent. And I'm just going to sit there and take it, and everyone's going to see who Antifa really is, he said. After the rally, when a reporter with the Oregonian asked whether that message had been conveyed, Biggs replied, "Go look at President Trump's Twitter. He talked about Portland and said he's watching Antifa. This is all we wanted. We wanted national attention and we got it." In days leading up to the event, Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler said people who espoused hate or engaged in violence were not welcome. In addition to the Proud Boys and 3%ers, whose name is derived from the notion that only 3% of American colonists fought against the British in the Revolutionary War. I like to consider myself a 3%er. When it comes time to fight in this country, and I'm not sure that it's time to do it just yet, but I fought for my country by serving in the military. I like to think of myself as a 3%er because I was willing to fight in peace time. And you're darn right I'd be ready to fight in times for whichever side I may take in this country whenever it hits the fan. And folks, I'm here to tell you it's going to hit the fan in this country pretty quick, if it's not already started. I was having a conversation earlier on the phone with someone. It's not a matter of what gun you own in this country. For all you people buying guns, I think you're screwing up. Don't be spending your money on guns, folks. You need to be buying ammunition. There's going to be guns laying all over the place. Now, I'm not trying to start a riot or a gun debate here, but for you pro-gun people, you only need one or two. Because once it starts in this country, and there will probably be another revolution. We're going to have to fight to preserve our rights in this country. Right now, it is a We're having a Cold War here in America. Some little outbursts here or there are getting out of control, but we've got a Cold War here in America. Democrats and Republicans they're at a standoff. We're getting nothing done. This is a Cold War. We're in a Cold War, folks. The last thing about this little article that I wanted to read that I have highlighted: Trump late Saturday appeared to support the notion that Antifa is oppressing Americans' constitutional rights, retweeting Republican Dan Bongino's argument that Antifa means anti-First Amendment. Sounds pretty reasonable to me. You know, they maybe they're not anti-fascist. Maybe they're really trying to shut up the far right group. I mean, some of us have seen recent videos on Facebook where they want you to be quiet and don't disturb my focus and keep the chatter down, folks. Keep the chatter down. I'm trying to get focused here. Come on. Anti-First Amendment. I think I'm going to adopt that. Antifa is anti-First Amendment. I kind of like that. If you're anti-First Amendment, you're Antifa, whether you're associated with those bozos out there or not. Did I say bozo? The other day it was bonehead. I guess today it's bozo. I seen an interesting post today. Somebody took a image of Joe Biden and they put him in the Hong Kong streets, and he was over there. You had to see the post. I'd read it to you if it was if I had Facebook pulled up, but there's some funny stuff on Facebook. So anyhow, on 5A, still in the main section, in Hong Kong, dueling protests. Yeah, how's communism working out for you, China? For those of you wondering, why do we have guns in America? Hong Kong is probably wishing they had some guns right about now. I'm not real sure what their gun rights are over there, but I seriously doubt if they have guns, because those folks might have started shooting already if they had some guns. Pro-democracy protesters marched Saturday on one side of Hong Kong's famous harbor to demand the government heed their demands. Across the water, a pro-government rally called for an end to the often violent protests. When you have guns, the only thing you can have is a violent protest. When you don't have guns. The dueling, oh, what a choice of words. The dueling demonstrations highlighted the political divide in the semi-autonomous Chinese territory, for which 10 weeks have been rocked by protests. Government's wanting to bring people to the mainland China and prosecute them, and some of them are going to disappear. That's what happens when you've got communism, folks. And right before communism comes that thing we call socialism. Bernie Sanders, why don't you go on over to China? I think you'd fit in quite well over there. And all you other socialists. The government right now doesn't listen to the people, and the police are too violent, said Bobby Say, a 76-year-old retiree who watched the pro-democracy march from a bridge. It didn't used to be like this. We didn't have to protest every week. I think Britain had some control over Hong Kong at one time. But now, even though we have protests every week, the government still gives no response. Before everyone in Hong Kong helped each other, it was very harmonious, he said. Now it seems, now to see it become like this, I'm not happy, so I've come out to show a little strength. Another comment, officers formed a line on a nearby street, thumping their batons on their shields before charging. Yep. The British are coming. The British are coming. I'll move over to page 6A. Shootings lead churches to train armed members. In my world, I like to think a gun is better than no gun. Now, some people might say a person who is not trained in how to properly hand a gun and shoot and no-shoot situations might say a gun in the wrong hands is a dangerous situation. I tend to agree with that. And many of us, myself included, who understand shoot and no-shoot situations and the liabilities of carrying guns, and I think sometimes the civilians have a better understanding of shoot and no-shoot situations than some of our police across America. The shootings lead churches to train and arm members. It's a sad day when you have to go to church and be fearful for your safety. I actually had some of this highlighted and I was going to read it, but I'm not going to read it. It just says things like carrying a firearm is an awesome responsibility. It is. It really is. And yeah, there's probably some people in this world I'd rather them not have a gun. I noticed state pay raises of at least $10,000. There's a list in here talking about that. Government jobs, getting pay raises, folks. Whenever the business sector is struggling to survive, we've got people in the government jobs taking our taxpayers' money, giving pay raises, making triple digits. Building expensive schools. I'm telling you, folks, before our government started being funded by the people, we were more productive. We were rapidly growing. Yeah, we were. We built all the infrastructure of the United States of America, from East Coast to West Coast, long before our federal government ever stepped in and started taking money. But now that they've taken money and they started developing these needs called state employees and federal employees and federal budgets and state budgets, they just keep wanting more money. And every federal agency I've ever seen take money, they're just wasting it. You take the IRS, for example. I think I've said all I'm going to say about Section A here, but I'm going to get on the IRS. We have a system here in America where we pay in our taxes. No doubt we've created a system where we need to pay taxes. No doubt. Half the IRS is there to tell you how much money you should be paying, and then the other half of the IRS there is set up to figure out how much money should we give back to you, the taxpayer, to me, the taxpayer. It's crazy, folks. The IRS they're out of control. Now, they're not as bad as they used to. They used to go spend $40,000 just to get you to realize you made a $10 error. They're not as bad as they used to be about doing audits. They go after the big fish now, as long as you don't raise any serious red flags. I made a statement not too long ago that corporations should not be taxed. Now, some of you are going to disagree with that. But folks, what I know about corporations, and I know quite a bit about how a corporation works. if you're an employee of a corporation, when you get paid, that's an expense of the corporation. And when you get paid, you're going to go pay taxes on it. A lot of these CEOs and strategic alignments of their tax fiscal years, it's set up so that they tax shelter money anyhow. Corporations in America, and I know I'm getting off of the news and onto a subject, but I guess it's my show. Corporations are what's building America, folks. We can let that money sit in that pot. What good is it anyhow? Just sitting there. But if it's not taxed, it's more than likely not going to just sit there. They're probably going to use it to pay more employees, which will then be taxable income for those employees, unless they figure out how to tax shelter it legally. That money, if it sits there, not taxed, the money that would have been paid out in the form of taxes will be put into the economy. It'll boost the economy. It's going to buy more buildings, buy more product, have more goods that are made. The tax liability that is put on a corporation is such that they figure out how to manipulate the system so they have little or no tax liability, and instead of pumping the money into the economy, they figure out how to shelter it. They're sheltering it anyway. For those of you who don't know what a net operating loss is, a lot of companies will go spend money just to generate a net operating loss so that over the next 20 years federally that they can just use their profits to write off their losses from prior years. They'll invest in something that end up being a loss. Why do we have the IRS set up to go monitor corporate tax bills anyhow? Get rid of those people. Corporations are the ones that are keeping the economy moving. When they spend money, they're supporting the economy. Whenever they give you money in the form of an income payment, then you're going to pay taxes on it. And if they're sitting there doing nothing with the money, which I seriously doubt they're going to do, that money's just sitting there. What harm is happening to America when that money just sits there? They should be getting tax credits for spending that money. Arkansas section. No taxes for corporations. I hear it now. Thomas for president. All the corporate guys are shouting, Thomas for president. Move over to the Arkansas section. B. North Little Rock taking it slow on public drinking zones. Same section. City sets modest steps on district. Fayetteville plan on next agenda. Fayetteville city leaders say that when it comes to allowing people to walk around in designated area carrying open containers of alcohol, they are inclined to start small. I don't know all the rules about the medical marijuana. We've got people walking our streets already, probably smoking a joint, walking around going, I got a medical card in my pocket. Right here's my medical card. Pull it out of the pocket, and they're walking up down the street. Might even be intoxicated, and they're walking around wherever they want to walk around. Is a minor going to get a hold of a drink? Was that what they're worried about? Is somebody going to step out into traffic and get run over while they had a drink in their hand? They were probably already somewhat intoxicated before they ever walked out. If you people want to look at what everybody else is doing, go down to New Orleans and see what they're doing. They got drive-through windows down there, folks. Drive-through windows for drinks. I'm not sure what their concerns are, all of a sudden everybody wanted this and they pushed for it and they got it, and now everybody's hesitant to be the first. The state's new Act 812 allows cities the authority to establish reasonable standards for regulation of alcohol possession within such districts where public consumption of alcohol is allowed. You can go from bar to bar to bar with a drink in your hand and walk the sidewalks and it's been an interesting opportunity to listen to O'Rourke and talks of guns at Clinton dinner, other stops in the state. How does a Democrat come to Arkansas and talk guns? For those of you who follow ladder talks, you hear me all the time talking about needing balance in some of the police reports. I'm looking over here at this little corner. It says police beat. North Little Rock man charged in stabbing injury. Just one little article here. I would imagine there's so much violence throughout the entire state of Arkansas that in order to be fair and balanced about your reporting, you'd have to list every community, because the point I'm making about the Leader News and them all constantly showing the Jacksonville arrests, just because the Leader News is in Jacksonville, it seems to have a better connection with the police department. I'm sure some community in Arkansas probably complained to the Democrat Gazette, hey, don't be telling them about our problems here in our town. But in the police beat, there's one. Of course, there's all sorts of stories in here, but under the police beat, there's just one. North Little Rock officers find man dead in street. Burglaries by zip code. 3 people killed in separate accidents. This is interesting, and I didn't catch this the first time around. Outdoor sports sites to get study. I'm just going to read this. The Little Rock Convention and Visitors Bureau plans to study the market feasibility of outdoor sports facilities in Little Rock. The city's marketing arm has issued a request for qualifications for professionals to conduct a study that will address market assessment, business potential, demographics, trends, projected use, economic impact, operational budgets, and financial requirements for the development of outdoor tournament quality sports facilities in Little Rock. I'm hearing esports is getting ready to take over live sports, I guess. I'm not real sure what this esports thing is about, but I'm going to find out. I know some people that are involved in that. I kind of wonder, are they talking about something other than War Memorial Stadium? All right, now I'm going to move over to VA on page 6B. VA arrests pathologist accused of missing patient's diagnosis. Okay, let me get this straight here. This guy has been arrested by the VA. He was arrested by the VA. Are we looking for a scapegoat because the VA has been providing poor service all along? Let's find the one guy that's making us look bad, and let's give them something, because the VA has been providing poor treatment to some. Now, when I say poor treatment, I'll be one of the first to tell you, when I've gone to the VA, I've gotten pretty good treatment. Problem sometimes comes with the timing of the treatment. You need treatment, but they're so backlogged because it's a specialized clinic for VAs. We got a gazillion veterans trying to get into this one facility, and they have such a backlog that you can't get in there in a timely manner, and you'd end up dying. That's the problem. The simple solution to all this is give everybody a card and tell them to go see your doctor. Put some of that federal money in your local doctor's pockets. We got doctors who have got such a bad set of books financially, they're hurting too. If I need to go see a doctor, I ought to be able to go to my local community, and I think we're working on some of those programs. But right here, folks, I think the VA has found somebody that they can, a fall guy. Yep. The jail booking log listed no charges for Dr. Robert Morris Levy, age 53 of Fayetteville. The Federal Department of Veterans Affairs was listed as the arresting agency. The log indicated that he was being held at the request of the federal government. Three Rivers section. For those of you who don't understand what the Three Rivers section is about, city of Jacksonville's in here. The only city that is a standalone. The rest of it is White, Cleburne, Independence, Sharp, Jackson, Stone, Izard, Woodruff, and Lonoke counties. City of Jacksonville's got a piece in here, and I never really did understand that or even know that until just a few weeks ago. So for those of you who are following Arkansas Live, you need to pay attention to Three Rivers edition, because there's stuff in here about Jacksonville. And in this one, it is the alternative learning environment. I think that is a better title for it, and I'm not sure. I think the picture in the paper here over on page 7 shows TLC, Titan Learning Center. I think it is an alternative learning environment, even though it says in here a new alternative learning education facility. I've got some questions about this, and I really wanted to get these answers before I started today's commentary. Approximately 30 students attended the ALE, Alternative Learning Environment Center. It is an alternative environment. 30 students attended the ALE on the first day of classes. Must have been carryovers from the prior year. I would hope that reading this article that we have students who are behind and they're trying to play catch up. I would hope this is also considered summer school. If we have children who are behind on their credits, this needs to also be known as a summer school facility. I know this building was just created, but I'm seeing a twofold purpose here. One is for children who can't seem to manage in the classroom their schoolwork, probably some attitudes, probably some behavioral problems, so they're moving them over to an alternative learning environment. However, there's this HUD, they're calling it, or hub, and that is set up for those who are behind on their credits. I'm going to find out a little bit more about that. I probably should already know, but historically, these environments have been for the students with behavioral problems, attitude problems. I remember when I was going to school, we had a pretty good size football coach who ran the program, and you didn't want to mess with him. I've never sat in his room in his environments, in his learning back then, because I just wasn't one of those students. Children with behavioral problems, that's a product of the parent, as far as I'm concerned. But I'm glad that we have an alternative learning center, but I just hope that we don't leave these children behind. We've got to figure out what makes them tick. And I want to get into my own learning experiences, but I didn't learn what made me learn until I had left high school, because I had figured out after high school there's alternative learning experiences which the school didn't afford me at the time. We've got to find what makes a child, what it is that they want to learn. And I think that's going to be happening in this alternative learning environment. I'm going to go pay them a visit. Jim Moore, if you happen to be watching this, or anybody from the school district or school board, Jacksonville, set it up for me. I want to take a tour of this place, and I want to sit in on some of those classes. Still in the Three Rivers section under the calendar, I'm always looking to see where is Jacksonville being represented or not. We're going 40 minutes already on this. I think by the time we're done, this is going to be an hour Arkansas Live talk. In the calendar section, I'm seeing nothing in here from Jacksonville. Mountains, music, and motorcycles. I remember here in Jacksonville, we used to have music, musty dimes, and mums. Mountains, music, and motorcycles. Can't help but draw some motorcycle folks to the Mountain View area when you have a mountains, music, and motorcycle event. Searcy, a Democratic Party of White County meeting. American Legion Post 71 meeting in Cabot. New Mom Support Group in Batesville. Nothing in here about Jacksonville. I realize this is not Ladder Talks, but this production here is supposed to have Jacksonville stuff in it. Come on, folks, get in the calendar. On page 3S, I really like this one story, and I didn't read the whole thing, but I get the gist of it. I really like the theme of the title, Event to Evoke Memories on Main Street in Batesville. People used to have gatherings in our shopping center here in Jacksonville. I think people want to reminisce, and I think evoking memories of Main Street is a good thing. There's various people listed in here who are speakers, probably sharing their experiences of a time past. I think every community would do well to have those type of events. I know Jacksonville's got a Facebook group packed full of memories. Tara Peacock, graphic artist, mural design picked for new Searcy project. I didn't read that, but from some of the, where did I see it? Some of the artistic works, yeah, here it is. It's from page, new BB mural to a tribute to city's history. These people doing artwork on the sides of their buildings, that's great for tourism. How many of you go down to Hot Springs or any old town and you see Coca-Cola on the side of the building, or old graphics that were painted on the brick? There's one building in Hot Springs that it had some old graphics behind it. When they ripped down this other building, those graphics were there. They built it on a zero lot line and kind of built it right together. It was kind of neat. It was preserved behind that other brick wall. I think right here in Jacksonville, we've got plenty of room to put some old-timey graphics. We don't have to be modern and all pop, and if you want to have a historical flair to your town and you want to create a draw, you better start depicting your history and teaching children the value of history, especially if you want them to know history. We're having things happen right here in America right now that it's because our children aren't being taught history. got to get them interested in history. So, I think that was pretty much all I wanted to talk about. There's some more quotes in here talking about I noticed how the Titan Learning Center sign over at the Alternative Learning Environment, I noticed how it says TLC, Tender Loving Care. I don't know if that's subliminal or not. There's one statement in here, and I know I've kind of jumped around, but I'm back on the subject of the Alternative Learning Center. Jake Smith, who I believe is running Director of Student Services. Jake Smith, Director of Student Services and Federal Programs for the Jacksonville North Pulaski School District, stands outside the Titan Learning Center. He is quoted in here. Smith said that when the high school and middle school administrators and counselors come to the Titan Learning Center to visit their students, it's all about encouraging them. I've really got to get over there, because that makes it sound like, I'm just guessing here now because I don't know. It sounds like a teacher goes over, teaches a class, and then leaves, and another teacher maybe comes in, teaches another class, and leaves. I think some of these teachers may need consistency. I'm not the educator here, but I'm not a child psychologist either. I'm kind of questioning what happens if a teacher doesn't show up. Is somebody prepared to take on these students? I mentioned the hub class is for students who are falling or have fallen behind on credits that they need to graduate. Okay, so we've got one environment holding two types of students. One who might have behavioral problems and has fallen behind, another who just happens to fall behind, but not sure why they fall behind, but maybe they fell behind because of sickness or illness, and they're now attending this. Are they being treated any differently, or do they have them separated? Smith said there were 5 students in the hub class the first day of school, where there was 30 in the other program. So, all right, well, that's we're doing 47 minutes at this time, and I think I've said enough just between 3 sections. I might have to cut this thing off. It'll take me forever to get it loaded. Been having troubles getting some of these videos loaded. Once I get the fiber optic cable in here, we're going to try going straight back to Facebook Live, and people can chime in. I'm going to schedule this video so it will be scheduled, and when you schedule them, they're premiered so that they come across like they're live, and I can sit right there and watch them right along with you. Click like and share. Go like Ladder Talks. Follow that. I know I've mentioned Jacksonville several times in this video, so some of you who are chiming in from Jacksonville area, you need to pay attention, because this Studio 25 being from Jacksonville, I'm probably going to mention Jacksonville a little bit. I'm Patrick Thomas, live from Studio 25. This was Arkansas Live. Y'all have a good day. See you next time.